Our next film is Evil Dead Part 2, the sequel to a surprisingly popular low-budget horror hit. Director Sam Raimi has filled this film with dozens of wild creatures and the old story of somebody opening the Book of the Dead and thus letting out evil spirits. Now, you know, you can really learn valuable things from the movies. This is one of the parts that Roger and I really like about being a film critic. If you ever see a book on a table with the title, Book of the Dead, don't open it. Just walk on by, as Dionne Warwick said. Unfortunately, this group of people open the book.
What the hell is that?
Maybe something trying to force its way into our world.
Right you are, sir, and here's what's coming your way, rather rapidly, in fact. That's a pretty good shot. There are dozens of creatures in this movie, and here at last, I think, is a really good one, a female ghost doing a ballet number. I like that creature and some of the intentionally stupid dialogue at the beginning of this picture. But eventually, I'd say after about 30 minutes, this film really wore out its welcome. With more creatures than human characters, this is a case, I think, of a film that is a lot of frosting and very little cake.
It ran out before the end. There was not enough inspiration to go for the whole time, but I really liked what did work, enough that I would recommend the movie. What the director here, Sam Raimi, is doing is satirizing all kinds of movie genres. The basic movies that he's satirizing in this movie are the Three Stooges movies. For example, the scene where the hand gets cut off and it keeps hitting the guy on his head and he has to put it down, and other scenes like that. Then there is a takeoff on Taxi Driver. The scene that we just saw, the ballet dance, where she lets her head roll down her arm and puts it back on again, that's Fred Astaire. And there are 7 or 8 other movie references in this film. It's not just a horror film. No. It's very clever and very funny.
Yeah, but it did run out for me. I got tired. I wanted something more than a little, you know, those are like 7 little clips strung together, and I would like a film that had a continuing story because, again, this film just has nothing to really say except the technology. I thought it was more technology than story.
Well, it was trying to be a bunch of comic one-liners, and it lasted for the first hour.
Okay.
It lasted for the first hour. And also, you wanted a movie you thought would be more interesting. If you could have seen what she had for lunch in this movie, you get to see what he has for lunch. Our next movie is named The Secret of My Success, and it stars Michael J. Fox in a very disappointing, recycled, dumb, stupid version of some of those high-rise office sitcoms from the 1950s. Fox plays a kid from Kansas who moves to New York and talks his uncle into hiring him as a lowly clerk in the mailroom. But Fox has loftier ambitions, and when he discovers an empty office, he moves into it and adopts a fictitious second identity as a new executive. That means he has to keep hiding in the elevator, changing names and clothes.
These elevators are stuck again. I'm sick and tired of these elevators always getting stuck.
Hi, Gene. You take those to the cleaners?
The plot thickens after Fox meets the boss's wife. She is, of course, his aunt, but neither one knows that when they first meet, and even after they find it out, it doesn't seem to make much difference.
Look, I like you. I really like you, but I gotta tell you, I become seriously and emotionally involved with someone who isn't my aunt.
I forgive you, Brantley.
Listen, there's someone else in my life.
I got it. I don't care. There's someone else in my life, too. Maybe we should introduce your girlfriend and my husband, then we both have the same people in our lives.
I don't want to get rough with you, but I'll belt you around if I have to.
Ooh.
Oh, Jesus. Vera, I'm gonna get fired. Give me a break.
Don't whine, Brantley. Life is too short. Before you know it, you'll be 25, wondering where it all went.
What the hell is this?
He fainted.
And that's his uncle there, the boss, played by Richard Jordan. Of course, Fox is terrified he's going to lose his job, but he's even more terrified of losing his new girl, played by Helen Slater, a co-worker who evidently is having an affair with the uncle, his boss.
I never slept with the boss.
No, you slept with the boss's wife.
Hey, she seduced me.
He seduced me. What's the difference?
I couldn't help it. You went willing.
Oh, I see. You were tied up in chains. Is that
All right,
it?
I'll tell you what the difference
I'm the one who
is.
thought you were a nice guy.
I am a nice
You're
guy.
a rat. You lied to me, deceived me, then acted as judge and jury in a situation you knew nothing about.
The secret to my success is never believable, but that'd be okay if it were only funny. The problem is nobody connected with this movie seems to have given a moment's thought to the real fear and greed and ambition and lust that exist in a big company and that could have had some possibilities. Everything is played in this movie for predictable, telegraphed slapstick. A lot of opportunities are missed. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, this is Michael J. Fox.
Yes.
This is directed by Herbert Ross.
Stunning.
These are people associated with quality. How did they get involved with this movie, which is nowhere?
This movie is staggeringly bad. There is not a moment of excitement. There is not a laugh. Dumb situation comedies. I really don't want to see Michael Fox roll around on a couch with an older woman. I mean, that is a bad version of The Graduate. This movie is a bad version of a lot of the teen comedies. It's a bad yuppie movie. It's a movie that has no moral values. We expect with Michael Fox to have him question the values of the company he's trying to succeed in. What stuns me in this year is that we get a movie about a kid who's willing to just climb the corporate ladder, and it doesn't even comment on that. It just does it for comedy.
Or they could have even made it cynical.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
They could have made it, he was cynical about his success. He was cynical about the lack of values in the company. This movie absolutely buys it. You know, let's get to the top, and if I get there, that's good.
And
no matter who I have to hurt, no matter who I have to stand on.
Or what products the company makes.
That's right.
This is a sick little movie.
In fact, what products did that company make?
Who cares?
I can't remember.
What? I lied.
He's the most tragic character in the film. The relationship between them breaks down when Kenneth can't handle Joe's success and finally lashes out at him. Kenneth believes that he has written Joe's plays as much as Joe himself.
Isn't that Joe Orton?
The title was mine, actually. I gave him all his titles. I'm his personal assistant.
Really? I don't care for these at all. What does that entail?
It entails washing his underwear. It entails taking his jumpers to sketcheries. It entails poaching his eggs. And it entails reading his manuscripts, only to find every single thing I've ever thought or said has been included.
That must be very rewarding.
This is a great film, and that is a great performance by Alfred Molina. It's a great film, a story about a doomed love affair, a story about the abuse of homosexuals, a story about making it in show business, a story about two people, one who ends up killing the other and then committing suicide. The acting by Gary Oldman as Joe Orton and Alfred Molina is, I think, of Academy Award caliber. I think there should be a tie possibly this year and have them both win Oscars. I just hope because of the subject matter that people won't stay away from seeing Prick Up Your Ears. If people do, they will be missing a powerful drama, more powerful, in fact, I think, than any of Joe Orton's plays.
I found this movie absolutely amazing, and I want to repeat once again, Gary Oldman, because this is the same young actor who was so good last year in Sid and Nancy, playing Sid Vicious, the punk rocker. Now he plays Joe Orton, a completely different character in every possible aspect of his life, including physical appearance. And on our video segment, I'm going to show a scene from Sid and Nancy, so maybe you can see that. I'm excited. Seeing Gary Oldman come on the scene as a young British actor, I feel the way people must have felt when they first saw young Richard Burton, or God only knows, young Laurence Olivier. This guy has got it. This guy is great.
All right, let's talk about the movie, though.
Okay.
I mean, people in America talked about the film Midnight Cowboy and embraced the film Midnight Cowboy. Right. This is as good or better than Midnight Cowboy.
Oh, it's much better than Midnight Cowboy because I think
it's more realistic.
Well, almost 20 years later, they're able to be much more realistic and more psychologically realistic. They don't have to put it into the framework of a more conventional Hollywood story.
Yeah, this is a very, very powerful, distinguished film. And don't leave out Alfred Molina's name. I have now mentioned it 3 times. Okay, coming up next, our regular video segment. And as I already said, we're going to look at Sid and Nancy starring this amazing actor, Gary Oldman.
We'll leave him with the check.
You're gonna make somebody a lot of money, Sidney.
Now it's time for our weekly video segment where we plunder the shelves of the video stores for new releases that we think you might enjoy. And my choice this week is a movie that was one of my top 10 for last year, Sid and Nancy, the story of a British punk rocker named Sid Vicious and his American girlfriend, Nancy Spungen. For a few years in the late 70s, Sid Vicious and Johnny Rotten and their group, the Sex Pistols, were the most famous symbols of the punk rock movement. Vicious fell under the influence of an American groupie who turned him on to drugs and began to dominate his life.
If I asked you to kill me, would you?
What would I do? I couldn't live without you.
You'd kill yourself too, then.
The film leads relentlessly to their mutual self-destruction, and so you might ask, what's the point? Well, the point is Sid and Nancy captures the decadent and anarchic world of punk rock better than any other movie ever made, and the performances by Gary Oldman and Chloe Webb are absolutely brilliant. It's hard to believe this is the same guy who played Joe Warden.
Oh, and she's so very good,
yes,
too, Chloe Webb. You know, we pass people by in the streets, and the public passes by people in the streets that they think are just awful. And when a film can take people that seemingly are awful and make them exciting, that you care about them deeply, a film can do that, it's a triumph. And this film is a triumph.
You know, the amazing thing about Sid and Nancy and Prick Up Your Ears, here are two of the most sordid show business deaths of the last 20 years, and both movies make them understandable and enlist our sympathy.
You bet. My video pick, not quite as good, but I think it's good enough to recommend to see at least. Tough Guys is the name of the film, known as the film that reunited two movie veterans, Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, and the story of two old train robbers let out of jail after 30 years, and of course, that's the profession they know best, so they try it again.
Loyal, long, you read me?
I hear you, Deke.
This is stupid. You can't get away, you got no place to run.
We're running to Mexico.
Before they can rob that train, we are treated to them seeing a new world and how it's changed in the last 30 years.
We live in this neighborhood. There are rules to street fighting.
Rules?
Yeah.
Like what kind of rule?
For one thing, you couldn't do this.
This! You couldn't do this!
Now, has everyone got the rules straight?
Actually, this film and that scene reminds me a lot of Crocodile Dundee, this time with two fish out of water taming the big city. And I got more laughs from them than I did actually from Paul Hogan as Dundee. In addition, there seemed to be a genuine joy in the scenes where these two veteran actors playing old men, sure they're playing old men, but we know, and they know, they're still tough guys.
It was a gentle movie. It had a lot of nice things in it. I did not like it as much as you did, but it was great to see them together again. Now let's take a look at the movies we reviewed on this show. We had a split decision about Making Mr. Right, a comedy about an artificial man. I thought it was smart and funny. Gene thought it was predictable. One thumb up, one down. Another disagreement on Evil Dead 2, the horror movie satire. I thought it was clever, bloody, and funny. Gene didn't think it was clever or funny enough. We agreed, though, on the secret of my success, the flat-footed, abysmal yuppie comedy, a real disappointment from Michael J. Fox. And another agreement on Prick Up Your Ears, the extraordinary story of the life and death of Joe Orton. Two big thumbs up on that one. A really distinguished movie.
That's the one to see. Coming up next week, we'll review 4 new films, including Matthew Broderick in Project X. Also, Wild Thing, an adventure film about a wild boy who becomes a legend. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.